On today's Remington's Inside the Industry, you're going to meet Mike Tracy of Platte Basin Outdoors, a top outfitter for both waterfowl and upland game. Mike and his crew outfit hunters in the states of Colorado, Wyoming, and Nebraska, and his loyal and growing client list is proof that he is doing something right. In my opinion, some of a successful outfitter's most important qualities are having a true passion for what they do and a desire to see his hunting guests both enjoy the adventure as well as learn a trick or two that will help them in their own hunting. You're going to meet exactly that kind of man next, and I know you will enjoy our sit down. This podcast is brought to you by Remington Firearms. For more information on the new era of Remington, visit our site at remarms.com. Today we got Mike Tracy. Mike, welcome.
Welcome.
Glad you could make it.
Thank you.
You had to tear yourself away from the cryptic guys up there. I guess they were shooting, but they drank too much and they're doing nothing now, right?
Well, I set them up. We've got a 5-stand on the side of the mountain. So they're running those V3s on some clays right now. But yeah, I just fed them down at the lodge and set them up there to, keep them busy and out of my hair for a minute.
So whereabouts exactly are? Well, look, we'll get to that in a few minutes. Mike, you're an outfitter. How long have you been? How did that ever come about? How did you become doing what you're doing?
Yeah, so it's kind of a long story. Actually,
we got an hour. As long as it's less than that, we're okay.
I think I can keep it to maybe a couple minutes.
Okay.
So as an outfitter, actually, it's just about 2 years with my own guide service and outfitter. And the way it came about was, well, in my adult life, I've really only been a small businessman. So I've had a couple businesses that I started and built. And I had two that I was running, and it was one in Colorado and one in California. And I'd been getting, my health had been deteriorating, and this was kind of between when I was probably around 30, 31, and then slowly, and then it accelerated when I was around 37, 38. I started getting really sick, and they really couldn't find anything. And then it got to the point where I was pretty much clearly dying. So,
but they didn't know why you were clearly dying?
No, they eventually it got so bad that and I started coughing up blood. I'd had chest pains for years at this point, and I'd done scopes and stress tests and different cardiac tests, but they kind of always, with my age and everything, they'd say, well, you drink too much, you work too much, you hunt too much, you just do too much stuff, right? Too much stress. They kind of anchored on that as it being like gastro issues, like heartburn. But eventually I ended up getting a chest x-ray, and they found x-rays you don't see a lot, but they could clearly see something. And yeah, went to the emergency room. They thought maybe it was like bulging aorta or something along those lines. And I had a CT, and they found a 30 millimeter tumor in the middle of my chest. So it was
Oh, yeah, that'll do it.
yeah, so it was by that time it was the size of a grapefruit.
Jeez.
Um,
But look, now I haven't had such a thing, but it's kind of not the best news. But isn't it kind of good to know what you've got?
oh, it was a huge relief at that point because I just had no idea what was happening, and
And I'm sure the doctors were telling you, well, it's really in your mind. There's really nothing wrong. So,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, and it clearly was a serious issue. So
right.
it was pretty much crushing all my organs, my heart, and, aorta, and it had encrusted my pulmonary artery, and a bunch of nerves in my chest. So, uh, kind of to speed that up, eventually I had a resection surgery, and it was about a 50% chance to make it through it, and I just barely made it through it. They removed my left lung. Um, so I have one lung now. My diaphragm's paralyzed. One of my vocal cords is paralyzed. That's why my voice is a little bit different. They tied them together so that they still vibrate, together. Um, and then I went through chemo and radiation after that. Um, and that was all between, um, I guess it would have been 2019 into 2021. But yeah, during that, the only thing that while I was getting sick and growing, my whole life, the outdoors has really been the only thing that gives me peace. Um, starting as a small child, I just spent all my free time often by myself in the woods or, down an irrigation ditch or whatever. So while I was even leading up to my surgery, I really kind of focused in, and I made these plans. If I made it through, you know, I was going to just enjoy hunting and fishing once I got through it. Because for years I'd just been working, and I would hunt and fish when I could. But you know how it is when you're ambitious and young and trying to take over the world in business. Um, so yeah, starting from when
So during that time, you just decided, or leading up to your surgery, and then certainly following it, you just decided, look, I'm going to do what I get the greatest amount of pleasure from.
exactly, yeah,
But how do you get pleasure from taking guys like me and Dave Folson, who's sitting next to me, out hunting? I mean, you
well,
know,
yeah, so
Dave's a real ass, but I'm a good guy. But it makes it tough to be real pleasurable, isn't it?
I mean, sometimes, but like you know, that I'm kind of so leading up to that with everything, obviously, because I started getting waterfowl leases, things like that, and I started doing a lot of stuff with guide services and outfitters. Um, after my treatments, and well, even during them. Um, and that's kind of how it became the um, how I transitioned into the outfitting, because I just had all these really bad experiences with hunting guide services and outfitters. I had several experiences that were, I mean, you know, they were criminals. Um, defraud uh, there's one outfitter that he literally runs essentially a Ponzi scheme, leasing properties to multiple people or leasing properties that he doesn't have access to people. So I went through this and I met all these people that had similar experiences. And it just really kind of made me sad because of the love I have for it. And, and, just, and I'm not saying everybody's like that, but I really just wanted to be able to do a guide service and an outfitter where the hunting and the service is paramount. It's not about making money. It's about putting people on the best hunts that you can, and then having that real hunting experience with your guides where they're engaged with you. Does that make sense?
It makes more than sense because I've had shared multiple stories with all kinds of people, and just an hour ago I just finished sending a text to an outfitter in Turkey. So, excuse me. So I spend a fair amount of time in Turkey, getting parts and so on and so forth. Primarily parts because turkeys getting wood stocks, different things like that.
Right.
So I've spent a fair amount of time there, and during the time you get to meet all the people in the firearms industry. I've had multiple offers to hunt. So for the last 2 years, Turkey is famous for their Bezoar ibex, which is the biggest ibex goat in the world.
Right.
And it's not the only place, but one of the few places you can get it. So first of all, I like Turkey a lot. I love the food. I like the people. It's just a pretty cool place. But um, the one thing about Turkey is everybody's out for a buck.
Right.
So I've had multiple things happen. I visited one of the firearms companies in a region. I guess it was about a year ago. So the Bezoar ibex was not allowed to. They had no licenses for the last 2 years because, excuse me, those on the left convinced the government they shouldn't sell licenses. So the government caved to them and they didn't. Well, this year they opened up again. But anyhow, last year when they were closed, I was in this company and there was this beautiful ibex that was in the trophy that the guy had shot was in their entrance to their building. And I said, geez, that's really just a great ibex. When did you get it? Well, about a month ago. And I said, just a minute. They haven't had ibex legally for the last 2 years. Why did you get it just a month ago? I can take you ibex hunting anytime we want. And I said, no, I don't think so. But the reality is in Turkey, this is what happens is first of all, you have to have a game warden with you on every hunt. They accompany you for the entire hunt. Now, the game warden is just like everybody else. They're trying to make a couple of bucks too. So the outfitters and the guides that go to the same area over and over and over again, they get pals with the game warden, and pretty soon it's, look, this is, I know we're not supposed to hunt after dark, but by the way, is it okay? Yeah, here's a couple of hundred lira. And all of a sudden everything is legal.
Right.
So the simple fact of the matter is they paid off the local game warden. They paid off probably the local police chief or whoever it was to turn the other way, and you can hunt ibex as much as you want. Yeah. So anyhow, where I was kind of coming from with that is I've hunted a lot over the years, and in general, if you take most cases, particularly big game hunting. Let's say they charge you, I don't care, $10,000 for a 5-day hunt in Colorado and elk hunt. Well, if they can get rid of you in 2 days, it's beneficial to them. So
Yeah,
they try to
absolutely.
get you on any animal and don't like it very much if you turn down an animal in hopes of getting another one because that will extend the hunt. So they push and push and push for you to shoot this animal that you may not want just because it saves them a little bit of money.
Oh, absolutely.
And,
And
you
time,
know,
you know.
and well, that's what I mean, money and time. So the hunt's 5 days. If they can get rid of you in 2 days, that's fantastic. They've saved accommodation, they've saved time, they've saved their fees for their guides, etc., etc. And that that's very common. And to me, when they act like that, right away, you don't have a good hunt. It's problematic because I can see I'm smart enough that I can tell when they're trying to push things along, you know.
Yeah,
And so having an outfitter say the service is the priority. To me, if it's a big game hunt, your goal should be to find me the best animal you can possibly find me, not to try to get me to shoot the smallest animal the day one because you get to go home at the end of the day. You
that
know,
along with putting you in an area where the hunt is enjoyable and then having, the camaraderie with your guide the entire time. The with the waterfowl, you know, uh, there's a couple things that go on. So I all the time I get messages asking if our guides shoot, um, which legally they can shoot, but you know they have to only shoot their own birds, which doesn't always happen with some guide services. It is fairly common for the guides to be essentially filling the limits um, of the clients.
which is against the law, by the way.
Yeah, that's against the law, and but it is hard to tell, hunting out of a pit and
Yeah, sure.
all that stuff. But so that's a common question I get, and people. So example is we specialize. One of the things we specialize in is bringing veterans or women out that have very little experience, and it makes for long days. But that's what kind of service am I providing if we go out and I have three guides in there and we get a couple good goes and the guides shoot all the birds? Like, what? It's literally counterproductive. I don't the women or the veterans or whomever they are, they don't learn anything from it, right?
Right. And sometimes they might even think they shot it.
They do, and you know how people are with I shot that bird.
Uh,
So you can get away with it, but it doesn't. It, in my opinion, you're not doing your job.
no, I agree. In particular, I think that when you're hunting waterfowl because you are in a pit or a blind or a boat, for argument's sake, but I think in particular that because it's you know you've got time to sit and visit, you've got time to get to know each other a little bit, which is not the case when you're big game hunting. If I go elk hunting, we'd probably leave the place at 4:30 in the morning and start walking, and so it's not walking chit chat, it's walk, 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 climb, go across rivers, whatever it is. There's nothing. It's not conducive to having any camaraderie at all. But
Correct.
in a blind or in a pit, you get an opportunity to talk to not just the guides but your fellow hunters, and it's kind of really nice. I enjoy it, especially
It's
if it's
best.
cold and I get a nice hot cup of coffee.
Yeah, it's the best
Yeah.
part about waterfowl hunting is that on the downtime, you get to interact with people and get to know people. And, one of the things that, um, like last year, a lot of waterfowl guides, they're younger guys and they're really hyped up about hunting. One of the things that I kind of had to teach my guys was you're not there to hunt. Like, this isn't about you as a guide, like hunting, right? Killing birds, putting piles up. You're there to um, teach these people and share an experience with them and give them the experience that they want. Do you know what I mean? And a lot of that is the interaction in the blind. I mean, helping them learn how to track birds and come out of the pit. And it can be frustrating, but that's literally your job. So
that's what you get paid for.
yeah,
Well, I was on a hunt just recently in southern Illinois. It's a really great place. We hunted upland. Well, actually, we hunted waterfowl in the morning and upland in the afternoon. So there were some interesting things that happened because I'd been there the year before, not with waterfowl, but just upland. But this one was with waterfowl, and we were really there to get some content. And so in the morning, we were in a pit, and it was a fabulous pit. I just loved it. The guy did a really cool thing. I think I told you about it. He took a one of these big steel. Um, I don't even know what they use them for, but like oxygen tank, a huge steel tank.
yeah,
Cut off the top of it, made little slots in it so that people could stand, and then just buried the tank. And then he ran electricity into it. So he had a fridge in there, he had a gas stove in there, he had a kettle. I mean, it was fantastic. But anyway, we went out the first day with just me and one of the guys that I work with, and the videographer, and the outfitter. And it was really warm. There was just no birds flying, but we got, I think, four of them that day, five first day, but we didn't see very much. And this guy wasn't shooting because that's a no to me. And you know, I figure if I pay for the hunt, I'm going to tell the guide exactly what I expect too. I don't let people tell me what they're going to do because guess what? I'm paying.
yeah,
You
absolutely.
know,
Your hunt. That's
so
what I.
but a lot of people aren't like that. So anyway, um, there was this fellow's son had two other hunters in another pit, a little different location, and there was not hardly anything flying. We after kind of 7 o'clock, we really never saw anything. So we saw something between seven and or between 6 and maybe 7:30 latest.
Right.
They never saw anything. So I guess that afternoon, the other two guys complained to the owner, not the operator, not the outfitter, but the owner of the lodge we were staying in. And their complaint was, well, we think that the Remington guys are getting treated a little bit better than us because they saw some birds and we saw nothing.
Right.
So the owner of the place asked me, he said, excuse me, do you mind if they join you tomorrow? Because this is how they feel. I said, I don't care. Doesn't matter to me.
Right.
You know, but hunting is hunting. Sometimes people across the lake get no chance and other people shoot their limits.
Yeah.
So anyhow, the next morning they came with us and they came with this guy's son. They were down one part of the pit. We were at the other one. Once again, we never saw anything. And, well, I shouldn't say we never saw anything. We saw a few things and we got four birds. So I was down talking to them after we hadn't seen anything for a while. So I went down and chatted with them. And yeah, we got that bird. And I went, oh, okay. Well, they were leaving the next morning, and the son phoned the dad and said, Dad, they're asking for their birds, but he said They never hit any birds, none. What do I do? He said, well, pull something from the freezer and give them a couple. But people want to brag about their birds, even if they know full well they didn't get it. Either there, because there wasn't so many shots that I didn't know who shot what.
Right.
I, and I think most people, I can tell when I hit something.
Yeah.
I think most people can, but they don't seem to want to own up to it.
Yeah, I think there's definitely if you're talking about, that amount of flight, definitely. I mean, the thing about where we hunt, especially early season, I mean, we may have, you know, 2,000 birds above you, right? So, um,
Yeah, well, to that you have no idea who hits what. I think.
yeah, well, I mean, if you're,
Well, no, I don't agree with that.
if
I think if I shoot something, I know whether I hit it or
you
not.
will, right? But the novices won't because they're overwhelmed,
Yeah,
which is, that's fine. But yeah, definitely, it's interesting how people, um, they will justify even even they know full well they didn't shoot them. It's I think part of that's the social media. That's one thing I've noticed is we do have clients that they're really just out there for the stack pictures. They try and leave all their birds with us, things like that, which um, if you do that a couple times, I likely won't book you again because I just don't believe in that. Does that make sense? I mean,
yeah, yeah.
there's sometimes when people are traveling and things like that, and they say we have six guys come into town and we shoot a 6-man limit 2 days in a row. I'll have them donate the meat to us, and we'll take care of a good portion of it just because of the logistics.
Yeah.
It's tough to bring all that back, and we'll put it to use. But I have um, had lots of local guys that they're just out there to kill stuff and then get a picture and post it on social media.
Well, look, we were talking about before we started, just when we were kind of testing the volume and stuff like that. The social media, the influencers, because I first of all can't stand the name influencers. I think
Yeah,
that that's a bullshit thing. The second thing is, there's look, we could go on about it forever. I see these people and go, yeah, what are you going to do when you get fat and ugly?
right,
Who's gonna follow you then? And so much of the stuff that you see on social media is nothing but bullshit. It's not real, you know. So and when you and I first talked, and I said, look, I'd love it if you'd use one of our guns. What I'm interested in is authentic people, not influencers, but authentic people that can tell the value of a good gun and a bad gun, or the way a gun shoots, or how often you have to clean it, things like that. And they're a far greater value to me than somebody that posts a bunch of stupid pictures that just aren't real, because I think you said earlier that they've become like advertising, and to me advertising is just not real. You're listening to somebody, a company, say my gun is the greatest, or my this is the greatest, but that's not effectual because you're paying for it. But somebody like you and the other people that we have using our product, to me, they're the true people that make a difference, because you've got multiple choices. You don't have to use a Remington V3. You
right,
could use any number of other ones, and there's usually a reason they're using them. And I don't need you posting and bragging it up on social media 10 times a day,
right.
because I don't think that's very authentic.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you know, the to me it's tricky because I'm kind of in between the generations. So I the as far as social media goes, I only I only started social media last year, um, and I was more in the line of that it was worthless. Um, but I have seen some impact in certain areas, uh, in you know just having the brand out there and things like that, and then it can open up relationships. I mean, the reason why I was able to contact you was because of our social media relationship with Cryptech. Um, the the thing that I really focus on with the social media, though, is that it's good, authentic people um, that share my values, and then that I actually have a relationship with them, um, with someone who matters in the company. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, no, it absolutely makes sense. I mean, we've given product to one or two people, and I talked to Butch about one of them the other day. I said, Butch, we're pulling our product from this guy. I said he's totally useless, does absolutely nothing.
Right.
So eh, and and I don't expect I don't want to become or I don't expect to become best friends, but I do expect to have a good relationship. And but it's got to go further than just you using a product. It has to have there has to be value in multiple areas. First of all, um, there has to be value in that your values are the same as Remington's. I
Correct.
mean, there's not a day there's like zero chance in the world that I will ever shoot over my limit
Right.
or that I will take a shot that I shouldn't be taking. It just won't happen. First of all, because I have enough respect for the animals to do that, but also, there's the law, and I don't think the law is always right about everything, but it doesn't matter.
It
It's
doesn't matter.
still the law. It doesn't exactly. It doesn't make any difference whether I think it's right or wrong. You follow it, and the last thing that I'll do as the CEO of Remington or as an individual is to have somebody say, well, you know, Darcy shot over his limit or Darcy killed a deer and it wasn't deer season. I mean, you just can't afford to have that happen personally or corporately. So the people that we do things with have got to have those values or I won't do things with them.
Right. And for me, as someone, representing you and your company, if I don't have that relationship with you, how do I know how to, you know, how to represent you? Does that make sense? Um,
Yeah, no, no, of course it does.
I mean, you and I, we text about hunting fairly regularly, and I have a good sense on what you want, um, you know, Remington to be seen, and all of that. And it's just, I think there's that just really makes everything more authentic, and, and the it's just everything's gotten, and I don't know, maybe it's not new, but with corporations, it's just so fake, right? But
Well, yeah, no, I think you're probably right. And one of the things when we started with Remington is to, and I've had this discussion with a bunch of our industry partners, is to be just an authentic brand. Like guys like you, for instance, I want you to use our product, and I want you to say good things about it. I want to see it on your social media and stuff like that.
yeah,
But if something's not right about it, I want to hear about it too. Because guess what? The only way you can make something better is if you find out that something's not working with it.
right,
Now, we think we've covered the base with just about everything, but there's always something that can happen, and you go, just a second, how did that happen? A perfect example is we had a and we look, when we hear something is we get a phone call or an email about something not being right with our guns. I don't care what it is, but in this instance, it was somebody, an international party,
Hmm.
that contacted us, a distributor that contacted us, and said and showed us the casing of a shell that had split, and they said the gun is not extracting the bullets. And I said, well, just a second here, what's going on with that? Well, we've had less than point 0.3, not 3, but 0.3% returns in over 200,000 guns shipped out,
Right.
which is pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
So we started looking at it, and we said, I said, okay, send the gun back. So they sent it back. We tested it with four different companies, ammunition with I think we had Remington, um, Hornady, a couple of other ones. I don't remember what they were. Never a problem. So if you're ever in a lawsuit, what happens? The first thing they have to do is they have to replicate the problem. If they can't replicate the problem, there's deemed not to be a problem.
Right.
That's scientific. So we couldn't replicate the problem with this ammo splitting and not ejecting or extracting. So there's only one solution to that. It's the ammo. It's not the gun.
Right. Yeah.
And sure enough, it happened again with 4 or 5 guns. And so our head of engineering got on the call. They had a video call with him, and we said, go out and buy some other ammo. We'll pay for it. He went out and bought other ammo. Not a problem with those same guns. And as soon as he put this other ammo in, wouldn't extract properly. So,
You would think
now,
that he would have tried that.
well, the interesting thing, he was a distributor for the ammunition that wasn't extracting.
Right. Okay. So that's
so,
all he.
so,
Yeah.
but anyway, but the point is that we heard about it, we examined it, we found out, if it was a problem with our extractor, we would want to know, because if it was an extraction problem caused by the extractors, we freaking want to know that so we can fix it.
Yeah.
So if you find something wrong with the V3 that's just not working, then we want to know about it. But at the same time, if it works the way we think it works, then we want to know about it too. Like I've shot a V3 as my really pretty much my only waterfowl and upland hunting gun
Hmm.
for the last 3 or 4 years now. I've never cleaned it, and I've had like zero problems with it.
Yeah. So with us, um, we kind of put it really through the paces already. The we ran it with kind of standard conditions, and it performed perfectly. It's, I would say, for myself, it's the nicest autoloader, shooting autoloader I've ever used. The recoil is just almost non-existent, and it fits me perfectly. That's a personal thing, though. I like that it.
Well, maybe it's a personal thing, but the tricks with the manufacturers is to have something that fits the vast majority of people.
Right, right. I'm just not gonna, you know. Well, my photographer, he is 6'7", um, former tight end, and um, he picked it up once, and he's been trying to trade me his shotgun for it since. So I told him to sell it, and we'll buy him one. Um, but so I mean, I'm 5'9" and 170 pounds, and he's 6'7", and I don't know, 240. 250. So it seems to cross over pretty well. Um, our second hunt we ran though, it was 35-mile-an-hour winds in a sandy cornfield, and they got filled with. We had I think the three we were running, um, two of the women that were running it had never hunted out of a pit, so they didn't know how to kind of protect it from the elements also, and they got just filled with sand. One of them made it through without any issues, which is pretty much unheard of. I opened it afterwards. We pulled a shot glass of sand out of it. Um, the other
Yeah,
one
there's
did
not.
have some issues, but I've never seen any shotgun make it through that without having.
Yeah, yeah. Look, when you're hunting in a sandstorm, you're probably going to have some issues.
Yeah,
But my point really was more than anything is that it's like having a crappy meal someplace. If you don't tell the manager and the owner that it's a crappy meal, nobody can do anything about it. And from us, we would like to be able to make sure our guns, from a quality standpoint, are literally the best guns available. And if we don't, and this is what I want from people like you, is to come back and tell us. Because look, I was at a good friend of mine's place one time, and Remington went through some real crappy times and made some real shitty product
yeah,
a number of years ago, and they did because they were chasing market share. The
right,
only way to chase market share is to reduce, cost of production. The only way to reduce cost of production is to lower the raw materials or to cut some things out that you shouldn't cut out, like tumbling and cleaning and things like that, or to have some cheaper parts, etc. So they had some real crappy products,
yeah,
and when I got involved, I said, we're just not going to do that.
right,
So we increased our price and we make a better product, etc. But, um, at the end of the day, what we want is we want to hear from people like you. Or I started to tell you about, I ran into a guy one time. I was at a very good friend of mine owns a shooting academy south of uh, south of Dallas, about 5 hours, 6 hours, and he puts thousands of shooters through there, including they train all the tier one snipers. And so I was there one day, and I kind of go to get away once in a while, and I was there, and we're sitting down at dinner, and I'm not, usually I don't even tell anybody who I am because I'm just there to shoot.
right.
But this guy knew who I was. So we're sitting down at dinner, and the guy said, "Well, when are you going to fix this?" I said, or no, pardon me. He said, "When are you going to make your guns better? When are you going to improve the quality?" And I said, "Do you have a Remington gun?" No. I said, "Have you ever had a Remington gun?" No. So I said, "So basically, what you do is you read on social media, you read some shit that somebody says, you have no firsthand experience, and then you got the balls to say something like that to me?"
Right.
You know, and I wasn't very nice after that.
Yeah.
It went on for a little bit, from me speaking, not him. And to me, there's just one of the things social media allows is people like that. They can read all about it. They read some comments from some people, and I don't care what you do, there's going to be Remington haters, there's going to be Mossberg haters, there's going to be Ruger haters,
Yeah.
there's going to be Platte Basin haters. At the end of the day, you can never do anything with these haters. They're going to hate you one way or the other, no matter what you do. So don't even try to please them. But if you get legitimate people, and this is what I was leading up to, is that when I deal with somebody like you that I think is a legitimate, honest, straightforward person, I'm happy to have you using our guns because you'll tell me the facts of them, not something that you've read online, not something secondhand information that somebody else told you, but something that you've experienced yourself. And if you've experienced something, then we can address it.
Right.
And it's certainly something we want to do. We want to address this. But anyhow, that's Remington. Um,
Well, that's exactly how I approach the guide service. So we're a little unique that we guarantee all our hunts. And what we're guaranteeing is not that you're going to shoot your limit of birds or anything like that, but we guarantee that, you know, we are going to do everything possible to give you the best opportunity to harvest your harvest your own birds, and that you're going to enjoy your hunt, learn, and have an overall good experience. Um, Now, typically, if we have a slower day, even if they do have some opportunities or something like that, we will just for our own standard, we typically offer a free hunt. Um, and but my policy is you could shoot your limit, and if you feel that we didn't do our part, you can ask for your money back. Now, if you do that, and we feel that we did everything possible for you to have an enjoyable time and get a good experience, then I will give you your money back. But it's pretty much an agreement that we're going to part ways. Um, if that
so
makes,
how many people have you actually had that ask for their money back?
I have never had anybody ask for their money back. We do.
Oh, that's why you said, Ken, you can come for free because you know I'll ask for it back.
What's
I'm
that?
kidding. That's why you said, Ken, there's no charge if you come hunting here because you know I'll ask for it back.
No, no,
No, I'm kidding.
no. I just, it's
No,
just,
that I look, that's a pretty cool thing, and I think it's a pretty bold statement.
yeah. Well, I mean, that's the goal for me. Is I want to get people out. I want them to have, the best time possible, and I've structured it. Okay, so I'm not profit driven with the guiding. Like I want to keep that pure because you know, I see other outfitters and they're running more clients than they should be on fields that they know aren't going to produce. Um, and they've got, say, they're running 5 groups and they have one field that's going to produce. They do it anyway and then they charge them. I
Right.
don't want to do that. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, it makes me want to get on the plane and come up there.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah.
The reason why I won't charge you is because you taking time out of your schedule to come hunt with us, it's a huge value, with the
Well, look, I think that's a different story, but I think it's pretty. Actually, I've never heard of an outfitter that literally says, "Look, if you don't like what you get, ask for your money back." I think I think it's a bold statement. I like it.
well, so my first business, I mean, it started, I cleaned and polished cars, and that was how I built my customer base. 100% satisfaction guaranteed. So I've just, my models are low volume, high quality. Um, uh, and eventually, when I build my customer base, on the business side, I'll have pricing power. Um, but I feel like that I'll be providing value for that.
Right.
But I would rather run fewer hunts with people that I enjoy hunting with and be able to maintain a staff of guides that I trust and that I love as people, and be able to support them like a small group than be chasing being the biggest or whatever. Um,
Well, look, I've been in business for a long time. Be careful how much you love the people that work for you.
yeah, I know, it's true.
Look, it's I think it's important that you have respect for them and things like that. But um, you're always going to have to fire people, and there's nothing worse than having to fire your best friend or your brother or things like that. It's just
Well,
so
I've done it.
so
I've done it a lot too. So
yeah,
I'm
it's just it's not a nice thing. Um, what do you do the balance of the year? Because this is waterfowl and upland. Do you outfit other things?
okay. So our schedule. I mean, so we start in September with dove hunting, and we do a little dove hunting while it's good. We have the early teal season in September for 2 weeks. Um, and then duck opens in October. And then November is dark goose season all the way until February 13th this year. And then on the second, we're moving out to Nebraska for 2.5 weeks, and I leased a lodge out in Nebraska, and we're going to do 2.5 weeks chasing snow goose feeds and hunting some roost ponds and loaf ponds that I secured. Um, and that'll run till March 10th. And then April we'll be doing it Colorado, Wyoming, and possibly Nebraska turkeys.
Turkey, yeah, of course.
Um, and then likely May we'll be in Alberta at Black Dog, Alberta, chasing snows for a little bit. So I've extended our season significantly, and we're looking at doing some fishing in Colorado and Wyoming in the next couple years, and possibly fly fishing as well. So uh, it and it, I also do a lot of veterans events during the summer. So
Oh, okay.
so different shooting events and things like that. So it's the outfitting. It's definitely possible to pretty much go. I mean, 8 months is 8 9 months is pretty easy to do if
Yeah.
you travel.
Well, yeah, and if you get involved in fly fishing, it's going to start in May and run through October in Colorado anyway.
Yeah, yeah,
I actually look. I've got to wrap this up, but
sure.
just we talked a little bit about customer service, and you were talking about whether your guides shoot or not. So I started fly fishing actually this year, and I really thoroughly enjoyed it. But I went on a 3 day boat down the Gunnison Gorge, which of
Hmm.
course you'll know where that is,
Yeah.
with a company called Riggs Fly Fishing, and there was 6 people, two to a boat, so 3 guides, and then there was a fourth one that handled the equipment boat, etc., etc. So and they switched on and off who was guiding whom, etc. And it was just a wonderful trip because these guides were so freaking good, except for one of them. And he was a good guide, but he was more interested in showing people how well he could cast
Right.
than helping somebody with their cast. And the other people that I was on the trip with, we became kind of friends after 3 days camping out, getting to know them. Stayed in touch. They live in New Jersey, and we had dinner after we got back to town after the third day. And all of us said the same thing about this one particular guide. He was good. He was knowledgeable, but you know what? he was far more interested in telling everybody how good he was. So I'm really against that. I think guides should not shoot guns, and I think guides should not be busy. Fly fishing guides should not be busy other than to show somebody uh, putting their own line in the water.
Absolutely. I could talk about that subject all day for hunting and fishing with guides. And unfortunately, that's the motivation for a lot of guys. They think that guiding is a way that they get paid to go hunt.
Yeah,
And on some level it is, but the truth is that you're there to guide someone else's.
yeah, exactly. And and guiding is multifaceted. Yeah, you can call in the birds, but you know something. If you see somebody that's not handling the gun properly, I don't mean not safely, but if you could help improve their shooting, I think that's a guide's responsibility as well.
Yeah.
In a respectful way, of course. Look, Mike, I got a roll here because our time's up, but um, we'll continue to text. I think you're going to get back to me about something, but uh, look, this was great. Give my regards to Butch. Tell him that I didn't want him on the podcast because he takes advantage. Also, before we go, and I'm just kidding, but Butch is a dear friend and great partner. Before we go, what I'd like you to do is give your company a plug, tell them how to reach you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, where to find you online, all of the information, because, I haven't been there, but my gut feeling is that when I do, we'll have a great hunt and I'll be proud to tell everybody, hey, this is the place you want to go. So, Mike, give yourself, your company a plug here.
Yeah, sure. So we're Flat Basin Outdoors, primarily in Colorado. We do some Wyoming and Nebraska duck and goose hunts as well. Best way to reach us is through our website, um, flatbasinoutdoors.com. You can email us or call my cell phone, which is listed on there. So pretty easy. If you like to see some great hunting footage and um, different gear getting field tested, things like that, check us out on Instagram, which is Flat Basin Outdoors. Um, and that's pretty much it. But I'm primarily available for texts and calls 7 days a week. 8 o'clock Mountain Standard, probably my cutoff. But that's that's it.
Okay, cool, excellent, Mike. Thanks, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, thanks, Ken. Thank
All
you.
right, talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Bye.